Africa Crisis Response Initiative. I repeat, they created a thing called the Africa Crisis Response Initiative, wherein white Americans to whom these Africans love and they hate black Americans' guts as if they're the enemies, began to decide that something had to be done to destroy the political, social, economic, and military power of Nigeria. I repeat, something had to be done to break the back of Nigeria, to prevent Nigeria from becoming a black African superpower state. Are y'all hearing me? What does this relate to Tethergeddon today? Well, let me answer. I've been looking at this for over 40 years. The population of Nigeria is underreported, and the population of Africa as a continent is underreported as much as 50%. So if they say there are a billion people on the continent of Africa, then there are 2 billion. If they say there are 2.2 billion people, then there are 3 billion people on the African continent. But after all, the same way they don't count black people in the census here properly, because they don't care, they don't feel like it. They're niggers, right? And the word nigger comes from Nigeria. That's what people start calling the people along the river niggers, and they're in Nigeria, right? I'm just saying, all right, that Nigeria has a huge population. Many of the people that were brought to the Americas came from Nigeria. They're notorious for what? Fecundity, that they have large numbers of children. They heavily populate. They are a population that is growing. The Nigerians and others are not having low sperm counts like these people are that are European and others. Go look it up. The sperm count is dropping for the very people that are races that are in the master race, that is superior to everybody else, and we're all subhumans and all that. Anyway, Nigeria's population right now, I don't believe it. It's probably 300 million people. There are probably as many people in Nigeria as there are in the United States. And you have to understand why. In Nigeria, the 3 dominant groups, the Hausa Fulani, the Yoruba, and all the other little people that are like them on the west side, then the East Igbo and the Ibibio, the Efik, the Ija, Kanugu, Inugu, Ijaw, all these different people. They're very concerned about the population of other people, and this is how you allocate power and resources. Nigeria used to have fewer than, say, 20 states. I forget the number now, but it's much more than when I used to keep up and knew the states, because to deal with the politics of Nigeria, of the 3 dominant groups, they don't trust each other and have long-term rivalries. So nobody wants to really give the number or the accurate number because they don't want to be undercounted, and they're willing to count chickens and dogs as people to have political representation. And I want to say to you that Nigeria is a problem for the French, for the Americans, for the British. Not so much because they're fighting white power, but these kind of black folks, in particular from Nigeria, imagine themselves to be equal to, if not superior to, other people, which is a culture problem for folks who see black folks as subhuman, to get a group of people who do not want to kiss behind. I'm not saying that all don't want to, but there's certain people that think they're equal to or better than. If you don't know Nigerians, meet some. They'll play games and they'll act like they look up to you, and they'll switch up on you and do some Hunger Games shit on you real fast. Or like Robinson Crusoe, you'll find yourself slaves to Man Friday. The Nigerians had a civil war in, between 1966 and 1970. The numbers of how many people were killed goes between 600,000 to 3 million, depending on who you're talking about, where the United States with Israel and France tried to get the oil-rich portion, the southeast portion where the Igbos and all those folks are from, to break off from Nigeria. And the Russians and others backed up the Federalist Nigeria. It's almost like the American Civil War, where certain people backed the Union against the Confederacy. The Confederacy in this instance would be the Igbos, who wanted their country called Biafra, so it's called the Biafran War. Biafra spelled B-I-A-F-R-A. And there's a similar struggle going on right now in the Cameroons, and they're fighting for a place that they want of their own to separate from the French-speaking Islamic folks, and it's either called Bamenda or Ambazonia. That's a whole nother conversation, and in fact, these people more or less like Nigerians, and the way the country got split up, people who would have probably been with Nigeria because of how they did the border between the two countries ended up in Cameroon for people that were Muslim that didn't like them. But back to Biafra, it was a violent, bloody war, the same way the Palestinians are using their starving children to embarrass Israel. The Igbos, led by a man by the name of Ojukwu, who's died within the last few years, last 10, 12, 15 years. Okay, these people use their dying and hungry kids to embarrass the government of Nigeria. It was a very ugly war. And ultimately, the Igbos, to this day, even people in that area, if you're familiar with the man who is in, I forget the name of the group, but his name is Ken Saro-Wiwa. I'm forgetting Ken Saro-Wiwa's smaller Ogoni, maybe. I think he's Ogoni. I mean, when you go to Nigeria, they have hundreds of these ethnic lineage groups, not one or two. So if I get a name wrong, screw you. I mean, to have to remember all these different names, Efik, Ijaw, Ife, Tiv. I mean, I'm doing better than they do, okay? There are lots of different people in these African countries. It's all lineage-based, and this is why they're terrified of delineation. Because when you start saying you got to be like me, speak like me, act like me, belong to me, for me to get access to something that's given to you, that means they'll be cut out, because this is what they do to each other, where they come from. So they don't see me delineating in my own country as me looking out for myself, because they don't give a damn about you or me. They recognize we left our country over delineation where we are. We've delineated against the black American, but we don't want the black American to delineate because we'll get cut out of shit. They've been fighting white people for hundreds of years, and we get just based on skin color the same thing we say that they're stupid and immature looking at what people look like, and yet they use it to the benefit of themselves but don't reciprocate. And then when we say, okay, we're not going to just do color, we're going to do lineage, they're bitching about that too. It reminds me of white folks. Every move we make, they don't like. No matter how good we are by them, they're not going to be good by us. So Biafra got crushed, and Nigeria reconsolidated, right, under General Gowon, and they're still watching Nigeria because it's a powerhouse. Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa, not South Africa, not Egypt. And the Nigerians' economy is probably much bigger than what you know, but because of so much corruption and competition and games that people play, you're not going to know. You'd be amazed at what people have in Nigeria. And then at the same time, you'd be stunned at the disparities of wealth of super rich Nigerians with their own helicopters, and they're people that don't even have flush toilets, not too far from each other. The Nigerian tribalistic Boule elite make our no-good trash black elite that should be hung from lampposts for betraying us, they make them look benign. Now, I'm going to keep talking about Nigeria because Nigeria has a huge population. Anybody that doesn't believe me, and I don't give two damns if you don't, go and look at the world projections of populations in 2100 and 2050. And if Nigeria, which is 300,000 some odd square miles, and I can look this shit up, Nigeria is smaller than 400,000 square miles, yet it has a population of 200 plus million, maybe 250, maybe 300 million people right now. Understand that Alaska is over 500,000 square miles and doesn't have 2 million people on it. And imagine if Alaska had 300 million people on it. That would be a major difference, wouldn't it? Now, the reason, back to Tethergeddon, if Nigeria is going to have, it's predicted in the future, 1 billion people will be Nigerian in a very short period of time. 1 billion. The Nigerians, just by population, they're all over Africa, everywhere involved in network. Just by them moving around, they're going to have the capacity to literally take over country states. They really could. They could just take Niger. They could just take Cameroon. They could just take Chad if they had it together. They could just take Benin. They could just take it they could just take Burkina. They're big enough. They got the army. Who could stop them? I mean, if you got hundreds of millions of people, you can pick a country like Niger. Niger, if they have 30 million people, that's like, they're still outnumbered. There's no way that they could prevent Nigeria from taking them over. I'm just saying. And get their resources. So Nigeria is a threat to white power, even though they want to play ball with them. And let me just say this about Nigeria, because I'm going to focus on Nigeria, because almost everything that Trump and them are doing is targeted against Nigeria. First and foremost, Nigeria became one consolidated colony, I think, in 1910 under Lord Lugard. If I'm off a year or two, it's still Lord Lugard, damn it, I'm close. You need to understand that the Nigerians didn't really have any major fights with white folks. They had a gentleman's agreement and agreed to be more or less ruled by white people. If you ever wonder why Africans don't fight here, because a lot of Africans weren't really fighting white folks. White folks really couldn't put large armies on the ground in Africa until after 1900. Why? Because of malaria and tropical diseases. And the only places that you'd see a big army of white people anywhere in Africa is in Algeria, with the French going in after 1830, and in the Anglo-Boer War was at 1899 and 1902. And by the way, those areas in terms of temperature and climate's different from the malaria and yellow fever and river blindness and all the kind of parasites and stuff that's in Africa that really jacks people up. White folks didn't have the immunity, so it's a lie that white folk just took Africa. Africans handed that shit to them. And where they did go in with small armies, like in the Sahel doesn't have all the malaria and stuff that the coastal and swampland close in, like what you get in, say, southeast and northwest, southwest and southeastern Nigeria. Because if you've ever gotten malaria in Nigeria, which I have, it's no joke. It can kill you. There was a student at Howard that went to Africa for the summer. They were all into this Pan-African bullshit. I'm just going home to the mother country. I don't need anything. And the little bitch got malaria, came back and died. You can die from getting bit by a bug over there, and you'll die real fast. Stop thinking, oh, my skin's black, I could just go anywhere. Nah, you might be a little different from people who've been getting their asses bit for decades. You just show up over there. Whatever immunity your ancestors had to malaria, you may not have it. That's why Africans take malaria pills. That's why Africans take the hydroxychloroquine that they told your dumb fuck asses that took the vaccine didn't work. The hydroxychloroquine is why COVID didn't kill many people in Africa, because they had immunity to COVID from taking the hydroxychloroquine from the time they were kids. And hydroxychloroquine works and it doesn't kill people. I've been taking hydroxychloroquine for 3 years and I'm not dead. With cancer and shit, with hypertension and shit, the hydroxychloroquine didn't kill me. With diabetes and shit, it didn't kill me. So you got lied to. Back to my point. Nigeria, therefore, is like most of those African countries. They have an elite that have cut deals with white folks, whether it was trading slaves or trading away national sovereignty to get to be the picked officials that ran the colonies for the French, the British, the Portuguese, and the others. They weren't fighting. The Somalis fought. The people in Namibia may have fought. The Algerians fought. A little bit of fighting for the Ashanti, but they got their asses beat too. Most African countries, the Zulus fought, but most Africans, I'm sorry, they bent over and gave their cheeks to white power. So when they come over here and tell you, the Pan-Africanists lied to us, we all haven't struggled anywhere near the same. Some of us that didn't struggle at all. They were over there working with, get Maji, nigga, that's late. That's Tanzania. And they got wiped out. This dude's gonna talk about Maji. With Africans are talking about if they chanted Maji, the bullets would turn in the water and they all got shot down. So instead of having some real technology where you could fight white people, they're trying to play magic. This is one of these Pan-Africanist fools. African folks should have had some real guns and some real weapons and done some real guerrilla warfare. They fought in Zimbabwe and they got fucked up. The Nobel Prize that Nobel got with the dynamite was used to mass kill people in Zimbabwe. Just telling you. Most of the African countries, most of the people, first of all, they weren't countries. Most of the groups cut deals and they tried to play a game where they would line up with the Europeans to fight another group of Africans. The same way when they come here, they hook up with right-wing or left-wing whites against you and I. Just saying. I'm not saying they can't do it, but let's call a spade a spade. Very few come here and say, I'm with the people who've been oppressed here. People don't immigrate to hook up with the lower caste of the society that they moved to. They came here for the American dream, and they don't care if slaves betrayed and sold from Africa. They don't care if we built it and we didn't benefit as long as they get theirs. So, I'm just saying, and nope, don't hate nobody. I didn't say, I don't think that, like I said, I'm not telling you I don't have African roots. I do, but I'm honest. I'm an American, and so are all of us. And when they go to England and other places, they adopt and, hold on, to people trying to cash app me, you got my Zelle and a PayPal. Cash app, within the last 3 weeks, on all my cash apps accused me of engaging in illegal gambling, and that I gambled, and all my cash apps are closed. So if you want to send me something, Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. Okay, my Zelle is the same as my email, wrandyshort@gmail.com. My PayPal is wrandyshort@gmail.com. My Venmo and my Patreon are Dr. Randy Short. You can send it that way. And I'm not trying to be funny. When folk complain to us about shadow banning and algorithms, I don't set them. Our people like using certain platforms. If there's a black platform, we can't get your attention, so we have to use the Crackers platform, to which we get shadow banned on. We don't have our own donation links that I'm aware of. Maybe there is, but I don't know how well it works. So we use racist donation links. If they don't like what you say or do, they cut it off. So if you want to support it, it's Cash App. Cash App isn't there. So there's Zelle, there's Venmo, there's PayPal, there's Patreon. The Patreon and Venmo are Dr. Randy Short. The Zelle and PayPal are wrandyshort@gmail.com. It's real easy. And I tried to get another cash. They won't let me have it, so I'm out. And I haven't promised to build schools or anything and didn't deliver. Okay, so that's how that goes. So if you're trying to donate, they will not let you, and they did this on purpose. I want to thank my friends who helped because my air conditioner, everything crashed, and a wonderful family that adopted me that's being robbed by Nigerians. In fact, there is a thing, put the name up there, uh, Kelly, for the people that are stealing from the man that you know in DC. Nigerians who work with white gays. You have a down low Nigerian businessman who was paying white gays top dollar, giving 10% of his company. The black dude just asked him for rent, who became his landlord, and he's reneged on paying the black guy less, and yet he's got the money. This is the kind of games we're talking about. And for all the little fake ass people that are Pan Africans talking about how great Africa is going to be, if Africans decide to lie, cheat, steal, and not deal fairly, it doesn't matter how great Africa will become because they're not going to share or cooperate or work with us. And I know people for generations that have been robbed, ripped off, raped, cheated, backstabbed, lied on, and particularly by people from Nigeria. And I don't hate Nigerians, I'm just telling you, I know good Nigerians, but they're few and far between. I'm not saying that they're not around. I know good ones. But we know generations of people who've been cheated, robbed, abused, time and time and time and time and time again. And we don't say all people are bad, but you know what? It's interesting. One black man in the DC area killed one Ethiopian woman. The Ethiopian community hates all of us collectively, and we're all paying for what a man and a woman happen. And no matter how nonviolent or how decent or how fair, you would still be held accountable based on that tribalism for something you wouldn't dream of doing. Isn't that interesting? One crime defines us, and yet crimes committed against us for generations, we're not supposed to recognize that because that's stereotyping, that's xenophobia, bullshit. In fact, if tribalism is good for the goose, tribalism is good for the gander. Now back to Nigeria. So Nigeria, with this situation, this population that is large, that will be 1 billion or more people in a short period of time on a landmass smaller than Congo. They're going to have to go somewhere, people. And the Nigerians have been coming to America, and they've been having babies here for citizenship. So they could do chain migration like the illegal Spanish speakers and the Chinese. And I want to say this to you. Out of the Friedman playbook, what was the greatest opposition to giving land to the freedmen? I will repeat this till the day I die. In the debates in the United States House and Senate following the Civil War, one of the main reasons that they said no to giving these freedmen land was they did not want to create a Negro Republic in the American South. Giving black Americans economic power would make a rival black nation within the United States. And they don't want it. I can go even before the American Civil War to the 1830s, where there was a plot. It's called the Ostend Manifesto, Ostend, Ostend Manifesto, where a group of white supremacist slave owners wanted to buy Cuba from Spain or take Cuba from Spain. And they got a lot of support. Why? They understood that Cuba was predominantly black. They didn't want two black republics in the Americas. This is why America always has a problem with Cuba. You'll always see the light-skinned Cubans, but you need to go to where Guantanamo is, Santiago de Cuba. Cuba's blacker than Africa if you go to the right part. I'm talking about real black. When you're in Havana, you see some black. You go to Santiago de Cuba, it's blacker than Congo. So imagine if they don't want the Chinese to chain migrate, and the Latinos to chain migrate, and the Indians to chain migrate, how do you think they feel about black niggas from Africa chain migrating, who have babies, a huge number of children per family, that America would be overrun by black people? See, bringing the Nigerians here to fuck black Americans seemed like a good, racist, white, practical joke. But the way Nigerians are, is to flip it around and it become a Nigerian joke on white Anglos, that you may have brought us over here simply to check black Americans, but we're going to check and rob you too. All over the country, Nigerians have been scamming and taking from white people. Not like black criminals that only rob black people and only mass kill black people, are bitch, coward black criminals who only rob poor grandmothers and people can't fight back. The Nigerian criminals are aggressive. They'll steal from corporations, they'll steal from banks, they'll steal from millionaires, they'll grift in ways that black Americans never thought of. They're very creative. They'll make fake products and things. They know how to smuggle drugs and have networks, and they can keep secrets. Unlike our people that need to put everything up on TikTok. Folks who understand the danger of this say, you know, Nigeria's going to have over like 900 to a billion people. If there are 4, 5, or 6 million Nigerians here, they could bring over all their families. America would be overrun with people from Africa. And God forbid if we treat them badly enough and just bash them and treat them like we treat black Americans, some of them might wake up and find out that they're black. Oh my God, imagine them hooking up with black Americans, as unlikely as that would be, because they don't want it. And perhaps we shouldn't either, because if they don't want it, then it's not going to happen. So don't want something that can't be. They don't want to be outgunned. And let's do the basic stats. The average age of white people in the United States is my age or older. I'm 60. The average white person is somewhere between 58 and 67 years old. 58 it's more than 58. So the average white person is probably 62 years old in this country. They're dying people. No matter how many shootouts, mass shooters, stuff, they're dying. They're at a population that doesn't procreate anymore. They're very concerned about that. Can you imagine if you brought over a bunch of young Nigerians that don't mind having 7 and 8 kids, unlike our dumb fuck pork chop feminist sisters that think getting an abortion is like getting a hair or a nail appointment. These women that don't mind having 7, 8, 9, 10 babies, like we used to, okay, in no time they would become a demographic powerhouse. And they're not going to wait for that to happen. Are you understanding me? Now, let me go back to the Africa Crisis Response Initiative. Why I brought it up. The Africa Response Crisis Initiative, which started in the late 80s, has a plan. And there is a plan in the works to break Nigeria into 5 nations, even if it costs millions and millions of Nigerian lives being slaughtered. It's interesting. They love the white people. The white people are planning to get them to kill each other in the millions. They still don't like you and me, right? But still, we are no damn good. Black American Nakatas. But white folks plan to destroy them and have civil wars and religious wars and get Nigerians to butcher each other. And the anger or the hatred or the dismissal is us. This is another reason why I don't like Pan-Africanism. If you're so stupid that you can't see that the white folk you want to get with would love to kill all of you and destroy you and still get your oil or whatever, and you would hate people who aren't doing this to you, you shouldn't be anybody's ally. In fact, thank God for slave ships got us the fuck away from y'all, because y'all on some sick shit. Quote me. If you had this dismemberment of of Nigeria, which would displace maybe 20 to 30 million people, If you want to know what a displacement of people like that, look up the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947, where maybe 2 to 3 million people got killed in communal violence. This is where you have like small Black Wall Street, East St. Louis, Rosewood type killings where people just go out, kill and rape everybody, do a Wilmington, North Carolina. You had this in India and Pakistan, and about 15 to 20 million people moved between what's now known as India and Pakistan. It just used to be the Dominion of India under the British Empire until 1947. So if Nigeria were dismembered into 5 nations and people would be moved around, Nigerians from certain places would be able to come here as refugees or asylees, and that would be a way for them to come in. And if these folks get busy and have kids in greater numbers, they're oriented towards getting education, this, that, and the other, they could be a threatening dimension to white power in America. Again, initially they were useful if it was to dilute, confuse, and use them on the black Americans. But for this, it's called blowback. For the operation to go south, and for these people to turn and decide they're going to take over America and make it theirs, and cheat white folk like white folk have cheated everyone else, they've got to stop this. Trump and all of them know that that's their fear. And Nigerians are all over the world transacting business, both legal and illegal. They've got networks. They haven't been able to break up their drug smuggling, organ harvesting, whatever it is that they're doing. Slave trading, yes. Nigerians are the leading slave trading people in Africa, and they're all throughout Europe through prostitution, all of that, selling babies, all of it. It's horrible. It isn't all Nigerians, but it happens. And there are Nigerian slave braiders in this country. They're slaves braiding your hair, sisters. And it's really, 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 really sad. And again, do my DNA, you know what my DNA says? It says I'm a Nigerian, whatever that means. So this isn't about I hate someone, I don't respect the humanity of someone, I don't think people can go to one country or the next, none of that. But my thing is, if you come to another country, respect the people that are there. If you come in as a hostile middleman people, if you come in to usurp people in their own country, and this is done, and this is why in South Africa and Ghana and other countries in Africa, a lot of people don't want people from Nigeria in their country. I'm not saying Nigerians shouldn't be welcome. I'm just simply saying that a bunch of them don't respect anybody. They do what they feel like doing as they feel like doing. White folk knew this, and they thought it would be a good thing to put on black Americans, because these folks can imitate, copy, counterfeit, play us, displace us. They never imagined that they would displace them too. So now you've got Tethergeddon. They've got to get the aggressive people out of this country that would displace white power. White people do not want to compete with anyone. They don't want to be challenged by anyone. They want the majority of the wealth and everything to themselves. They do not want to share. They do not want to be challenged. They don't want to be challenged for the resources in Africa. The one country on the continent that is capable of challenging the Western nations, in particular in West and Central Africa, is Nigeria. They don't want this. And so as a result, my friends, this is the beginning. Tethergeddon, in my view, is the United States, which will be followed by England, and other Western countries will begin to kick out African in particular, and later, I guess, Caribbean immigrants, because they want white dominance. They have issues with the Islamic folks, and it's interesting, they do more terrorism and so forth, but They're lighter skinned. And so's the breaks. The whiter you are, the more chances you get. Something that when we tell people that, they tell us it's all in our head and we're weak and we don't try and we're lazy. Sorry. So Donald Trump in October will roll out new visa policies. They're going to make it very difficult for people, in particular from West Africa and Nigeria in particular, to come to the United States. What do I know about this? I had a dear friend who's Tanzanian, since the little bastard's talking about Maji, right? And let me see. And by the way, I blocked on my channel. If I sound bitter to you, it's you that have the problem. Okay? It's you that have the problem, not me. I'm not talking about bitterness, I'm talking about facts. It's unpleasant. And folk are going to try to gaslight us. Don't let anyone gaslight you. This is your country. There's no place else for you to go but here. And when you go abroad, people remind you that you're from America. When you're in Africa, I'm not mad. They say, hey, you're an American. Now, isn't that something? When I say I'm an American in America, the same people tell me, no, you're not. You don't have a country. You don't belong anywhere. Haitians have Haiti, Jamaicans have Jamaica, Nigerians have Nigeria, Ghanaians have Ghana, South Africans have South Africa, Egyptians have Egypt. Black Americans don't have any place, all the while they work to replace you and where you don't belong. Then they claim to be African American and tell you you can't claim to be American. What the fuck, people? What the fuck is that? That's a game. That's a game of jealousy, haters, and moderators. Block anybody. I don't care. I don't want to hear your opinion. This is all about me, all about how I understand Tethergeddon. The brother asked me to explain it. I am. My friend from Tanzania, who went to Howard with me, went home while she was a student because of a funeral and had a difficult time getting back into school, tried to come back, and the Indians and others working in the embassies were blocking. The Indians and Arabs and Chinese were getting visas in Dar es Salaam, but they would not give that to black Tanzanians. So the little fucker that was talking about Maji, my broke ass without without an income, and Miss Kelly in here, we were sending money, helping a sister from Tanzania that was a good sister get the money to get a visa to move to Canada, because they could get into Canada, but they couldn't get into America. They simply wouldn't even see you, even when you studied in America, had a good income, a good job, no criminal record, because they had a policy under Biden that they weren't letting people from Africa come in, except for when they were gay. And that's why this guy's name is Alfonso David. There was a black man head of the largest, a Liberian homosexual by the name of Alfonso David, was the leader of the Human Rights Campaign, that they were giving visas and amnesty to African homosexuals to put them in organizations here to fight against people that were pro-family and anti-abortion, people like me getting waged war on by people who can't suck dick in public where they come over here and act like us, saying, hey, look, we don't want guys with dicks in the women's restroom, and have someone call me a xenophobe, call me a racist, and yet they would be killed where they came from promoting the same thing. So they bring over people traumatized around their sexuality, or people who are involved with the CIA, involved with the IMF, World Bank. They're from the families of the people that steal everything in Africa and keep the countries poor and underdeveloped. They bring the filth of Africa here. And those folks are in line with the most racist white folks in the church, State Department, business. It's never anybody that could even consider or want to have a relationship with anybody that's foundational black American. Not that we wouldn't be willing to deal with them. They're not willing to deal with us. And I'll tell you something. I don't do these talks to beg, to hold hands, kumbaya with anybody. That includes coons and the boule, and blacknecks and nigglings, and other assorted black scum and people that don't get it. And that includes people, tethers, and other people. If you don't want to get with this, take your ass back where you came from if you hate it here. So, Tethergeddon, same way my friend could not get a visa, had been at Howard, almost finished her doctorate, good upright sister, head together, had a good heart, couldn't even get in to the United States, having played by the rules. When Trump and them put these new things in, unless you're a super rich Nigerian, a diplomatic Nigerian, a Nigerian with some status, or you're going to a really good school and your ass isn't going to work off campus, a lot of them aren't going to be able to come over here with the same ease. They're going to get rid of the 5-year visa, which was sort of the Nigerian Express scam card, where you could come to the United States, you get a visa, and you could come in, multiple entries. You could come in and out of the United States like it was a grocery store for 5 years. That program's gone. Your ass can get a 90-day one, like the kind I used to get to go to Brazil, and there's some nice women in Brazil. And what you had to do is in 90 days, your visa's up. I'd go to Brazil, stay for about 30, 40 days, and then you'd come back. If you wanted to go back into the country, after you were there for 90 days, you'd need to get another visa unless that visa was a renewable one that allowed you multiple entries and you could only stay for 90 days. Are you understanding me? So you could get a visa for 3 years, but you could only stay for 90 days. The United States is offering like a visa, if I'm correct. It will be a one-time only. You can come for 90 days, then you have to get the fuck out. And if I'm understanding it, they're likely to terminate the status. So if you are, let's say you came from Nigeria in January, you got a 5-year multiple entry visa. This is August. You're lucky because September would be month 9, but October is month 10. If I'm correct, and you had a 5-year multiple, and they suspended and they cut it off, you got to get the fuck out of here. Even though you had 5 years, now you had no time at all. So a lot of Nigerians and other people, their businesses kind of have the bad fufu and old palm oil that's all stuck at the bottom of it and make it look nice for you. That, if you're here, you may not be here. You may have to get out. You may have to sell your house. You may have to do a quick sell on your house, your car. And by the way, please don't try to marry someone to move some, old palm oil pussy on somebody, because the United States Citizenship Investigative Services are looking for bogus marriages. And if they find out you're married, and it's just to stay here, you could do jail time and still get deported and be stripped of your citizenship. It's over, people. 60 years of immigration violation, illegal migration, scamming. It's over. It's Tethergeddon. Like Armageddon in the Bible, where God comes out of the sky and destroys the armies of the Antichrist. Well, the armies of the anti-FBA that come here that don't want to be our brothers and sisters, won't work with us, won't learn our history, won't at least stay out of our conflicts. They're about to be cut off. And it's by the white people that you love. By the white Jesus, right? White Jesus is people about to cut your asses off. And it won't be the no good, filthy, lazy, not working Akatas, who they also call mutts. You're not African, you're mixed, you're mulatto. And they use enough skin whitener and shit to look like Charlie Chan. It's over. And the same applies to the Caribbean. And if you're from an Islamic country and everybody's looking cross-eyed at you, it's over. It's over. And what's sad, let me just give you one more piece, because I did I left something out. There's a thing called the Brzezinski document. Look it up. Brzezinski, I think it's spelled Brzenski document. It's also called National Security Memorandum 46 or 48, one of the two. Look it up. It's they'll say it doesn't exist, but it made it into the courts where the United States government didn't want people to work together, in particular from South Africa and Nigeria, to work with black Americans. Okay? And they started this in the late 70s. They decided to cut it off to make certain that people didn't work together. The Nigerians at that point had a good head of state named Shagari, the last African leader in Nigeria who gave a damn about black Americans, and they did a coup and got rid of his ass because he challenged President Jimmy Carter over how black Americans were treated. There's some good Nigerians. I'm always going to tell you the truth. I'm going to stand up. If it's a righteous person anywhere in Africa, I'll tell you the truth. If all of you don't like me, when there's a good African, a good Caribbean, I will fight all of you because I believe in truth and decency. And when there's a rotten-ass African or Caribbean or Boule or Coon, I'll tell you that too. When I'm not so tribalistic that I can't be fair. Shagari spoke up for black people. They took him down. There was another African man who gave money for my education at Howard, who's also Nigerian. Did some corruption, but what's his name? It's not Obasanjo, don't help me. What's this guy's name? Abiola. Chief MKO Abiola. I believe it's alleged that Susan Rice may have poisoned him. She's a woman who was Secretary of State under Obama that looks like Gilligan from Gilligan's Isle, except looked like Gilligan wanted to be a black woman. And man, her hair was always fucked up. Damn. She had her hair like a white woman. She has a Jewish husband. So alleged she poisoned him. I'm not saying she did. It's alleged because the last person saw him alive, she gave him something to drink, and then he was dead. And his wife, Kudirat Abiola, was shot in the face 5 times with exploding bullets manufactured in the United States. Abiola gave a damn about black Americans. They killed him. The good Africans, the Lumumbas, the Sankaras, this guy Ibrahim Traore, the righteous Africans, they're at risk of all the white folk want to bump them off and even their own people that don't get it. It's sort of like what happens here. Good black Americans get killed by the scum, trash black Americans who all should be lynched. You traitors, I know you're out there. And the racists hate them and everyone else. So I want to say this to you. The Brzezinski document, and see if you can find it, Black Alpha, and when you read how they don't want black Americans and Africans to work together, there's been a concerted program to wreck any kind of solidarity between Africans and blacks in the United States. Things used to be better. They've gotten steadily worse. I believe this is the program, but here's the issue. There are those of us in our end that have worked. We haven't seen the commiserate effort on behalf of Africans to check crooked, liar, grifter, Nigerians or others, many of whom are going to get busted because they got PPP money, they're getting snapped, they're gaming the system, not understanding. They may see you as being better than a black American, but you aren't white. And when they get angry with you, like when you commit a crime, they lump you in with black Americans. They completely ignore your distinctiveness. And so delineation is good for us because if a person rapes someone, they're called a black American. If they get a scholarship, they're quick to say, oh, they're from Congo, they're from Nigeria, they're from Senegal. They're not one of them. Huh? Are you understanding me? We can only be bad and dirty. And they also play that too. So when one of them commits a crime, they don't say it's one of us. They know that that will be put on black people and they laugh about it. And it's dirty, it's unfair, it's sinister. And people need to be accountable. When you travel to another country, you're like a guest in another person's house. You need to act like someone that people would want to stay instead of showing your ass and shitting at the kitchen table and pissing on yourself in front of the fireplace and thinking if you ask me to leave, you guys aren't good hosts. You need to be good guests, and this hasn't been the case. Okay, I think I've explained myself. I can rest.
Yeah, right. Tethergeddon, all the way. You brought that all the way around. Let me tell y'all, when Dr. Randy Short is cooking like that, you let him cook. But I see a lot of people that want to come up and speak and ask some questions and know more about this tether game that we all see. And I'm pretty sure that we can come to the conclusion, family, it ain't too good in the hood for none of these tethers out here. Before I get to my brother, what up, though? Winkin, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for letting me up on the stage, Black Alpha. Hi, Dr. Short.
Hello.
Hi, everybody listening. Thank you very much for the first-rate education. When you were talking about the Brzezinski documents, so on and so forth, I studied that in undergrad in political science. And if you look in the purple pill, I found a redacted example of what they let out about the Brzezinski documents.
Isn't it horrible?
The purple pill.
Isn't it horrible what they're saying? And that they want us to be in conflict. We get it, they don't.
Absolutely, because what they're trying to do with a lot of things, as you're saying, especially ahead of what you explained with the Trump administration completely cutting off the unrestricted visas. It's going back to how it used to be before 1965, really before 1950.
Yes.
Okay? Where people from African countries could not come into the United States unless you were a diplomat, unless you were a thoroughly vetted college professor. Period. End of discussion. They didn't even let too many HBCUs didn't allow too many African professors or business people. You know why? Because up until about the early to mid 60s, who controlled the boards of trustees and the finances of HBCUs? They were still in the hands of most of their white benefactors and their descendants. Okay? And we all know HBCUs, sadly, are the training ground for this political propaganda that they've been instilling into people.
Well, hold on. The HBCUs, excuse me, at Howard in particular, there's a book by Zed Press called, I think it's called The CIA in Africa. I have a copy. Let me see if I can find it so I can tell you the book. But Howard had a CIA recruiting base, and what they were doing was trying to use the Department of Psychology to groom a group of Black American people in psychology and psychiatry to be able to profile Africans who could be a threat to American or to multinational corporations so they could be assassinated. In other words, they were being asked to create assassination profiles. This was right on Howard's campus. I was there. This happens between 78 and 1980. And it was based in Douglas Hall, the building that Kamala Harris was speaking in front of when she conceded the day after she lost. It was in the basement. So they had a program to teach people how to look at for which Africans need to be assassinated for American foreign interest. And a teacher in political science spilled the beans, of course, like Francis Cress Welsing, got fired. And I didn't do it. I have a doctorate in African Studies from Howard University. What you need to know is that the African Studies Department got its seed money, I think, from the Defense Department and the CIA. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not like that. I'm not for sale, sister. But so there's a relationship between the HBCUs and repression. We need to remember that the HBCUs gave over the names of the activist black students to the FBI, CIA, and others to get people drafted and killed in Vietnam, those that were outspoken. The HBCUs are bastions of the boule, they're bastions of betrayal, they're bastions of stifling true freedom and debate. Were it not the case, I'd be a full professor somewhere. In fact, the HBCUs right now are full of tethered professors who screw black American professors. You can't even get jobs in certain places for people with fake degrees from other places. I'm not speaking from what I think. I'm talking about what I've experienced being sabotaged repeatedly at multiple HBCUs all over America. So HBCUs are colonial projects, and we need our own free places where people can think. So someone like myself, if I wanted to do research on China or on Islam or other things, I know what it's like to be forced to stop taking Arabic studies because people thought I was an Islamic fundamentalist when I'm a Pentecostal apostolic. Huh? My dad's a preacher, my grandfather's a preacher, my uncle's a preacher, my mother's a missionary, my grandmother's an evangelist. I'm not a Muslim, okay? But studying Arabic and looking at my political stuff, so a lot of these places do not allow this. And even now, these HBCUs are bastions of LGBTQ, Pan-Africanism, illegal hugging, and feminism, and baby killing, abortion. Everything we don't need, they want. And they don't promote black business. They don't even come that way. I mean, every which kind of way our people could really get a big push out of these places. This is undermined not so much by all the faculty or students, but by the people that really run things. If you're familiar with Edward Bernays' book, Propaganda. Go ahead, sister. Question? Hold on. I stopped. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm in total agreement with what you're saying because, first and foremost, a lot of the, I guess you call it miseducation of the Negro, to borrow a title from Carter G. Woodson, came through the HBCUs. Yes, it is a form of indoctrination, and it only worsened. During my time, I came through the university system in the 90s, mid to late 90s. And what the push was then, and I saw it as an undergrad when I was, I did get a chance to travel with other HBCU
you called me.
students when
I'm
we
doing something. What's
traveled
going on?
abroad. And you could see the push for programming. And it was
Okay, you're
what I
hungry
saw
now.
in the
Okay,
90s was
it'll
when
take a
you
minute,
had a
Mom,
lot of
because I'm
the
doing something.
Africans
But I'll
coming
bring
in
some soup
and
up.
pushing out the
All
regular
right.
teaching of black, I guess you call it, I wouldn't say ideology or anything like that, but most of the applicants who came in there during the 90s, they came in under a program of repression.
Yeah.
Okay, it was to suppress any and everything that had to do with, all right, I'm going to think, I'm going to speak openly, and I'm going to challenge things. No, you can't do that. You can't do that and survive. You can't do this to be a part of what we're doing.
Let me say this to you. HBCUs did not allow free inquiry, and Carter G. Woodson did not get to teach at an HBCU. Carter G. Woodson ended up setting up the Associated Publishers on 9th Street Northwest, south of the campus of Howard. They weren't welcome to teach. That's why I started Black History Week and then Black History Month. You weren't allowed to do this. Black people wouldn't let you do it. Okay, I taught at one HBCU, Lane College, and sister, the person that created the curriculum for Lane College to teach history was a white woman from the Daughters of the Confederacy. Part of me not being continued there is trying to break off of the Daughters of the Confederacy to teach, to have, can you imagine? I'm at a black school and a white supremacist woman who doesn't have the education I have decides how people are going to be taught. And you're seen as insubordinate for wanting the education to be accessible to your students. And I need to remind people, like someone's telling me here on my page, they went to Southern. They went to one of the HBCUs in Louisiana, and all the professors were foreigners and whites. I can say this to you, at Howard, the reason my father was chaplain at Howard, they didn't allow gospel music, jazz, or blues on the campus of Howard. It wasn't tolerated. You could be thrown out of school. You could be thrown out of school for being apostolic Pentecostal holiness. If you were too dark, you had to submit a picture. Like in apartheid in South Africa, if you're too black, maybe you won't get in. We have a class of black people, the Boule. That's what the tethers aren't half of our problem. Our biggest problem are the traitors from within. Our own traitors, the scum in our community. Our traitor black scum do this. We could solve almost all of our problems overnight. Black farming, all of it. All of this is checkmated by traitors in our ranks, and we sit up and look at people because they're black first or they got a degree somewhere, and they're enemies. You have another question. I'm going to close my mic.
I think she dropped down, but let me get to my brother. What up, though? You still there, family?
Yeah. What's up, cuz?
It's all on you, player.
Yeah, I was gonna talk, but I'm gonna ask the professor and everything. Okay, you see the farming and everything going on. You see all the, like, we just graduated 5 million black kids last year in high school. You know, you see all the positive on top of them. We normally know that they're trying to overshadow one negative and turn that into the whole. You know what I mean? Because you gotta look at the stuff as a math problem. You know, you got kids watching that one negative, they won't even see the whole. You know what I'm saying? This next go round, right? With these hunkies, right? Do you honestly believe that do you honestly believe that we can withstand them from attacking this go round? You know what I'm saying? Because they are going to attack. You know what I'm saying? I ain't want to say this on your page, but what I'm seeing is the positive about to overshadow their little negative. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see more black kids graduate school. We're going to see more black kids open up corporations and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
So,
I'm just talking because, like I said, I was going to talk, but I wanted to ask you something.
yeah.
Do you see the positive more so than the negative overshadow? Do you see the positive overshadow the negative that's going on?
Our problem, in my view, is as much internal as it is external. You're asking me externally, and I don't like those kinds of questions because it's not dealing with what the issue is. I keep mentioning, and I resent it when people keep saying it's white, black, when we've got huge swathes of traitors in our ranks. Huge swathes of black folks that are traitors, that are enemies to all of us, who walk around and get loved. Uh, they get to be called leaders and do things to hurt us. And we're only going to talk about Dylan Rolfe. Dylan Rolfe shot 14 people, right? He did. It's terrible. And he should be dealt with. But when we've got Planned Parenthood that and they've got folks thinking killing black babies by the thousands every week is health care. And you can get people to scream and celebrate the killing of black babies. When we have easily as many as 5,000 black folks killed in prisons every year in this country. Not a fucking whimper. And sometimes this is happening in Georgia. That's happened with that woman, what's her name? I call her Fanny Clitis. They've got all the power to keep people from being eaten alive by bed bugs, raped and stabbed, and nothing happens. Our failure to address our internal issues encourages people because it shows weakness. If you won't wipe your own ass, brush your teeth, clean up under your arms, a lot of folks might think it's safe to attack you because if you don't care about yourself, you probably aren't in a position to resist someone attacking you. We've got to deal with both. A half-ass solution is a half-ass solution. A whole solution is we need to clean our shit up in-house and be ready to withstand anybody that attacks us. The war's already been declared. They're going to do what they're going to do. The issue is, what are we going to do? And why do we have to just react to what they do when we've got folks who push and kill? I'm looking at a black man that killed a baby over a donut, drowned him in a washing machine. I read story after story after story of black children being murdered, beheaded, put in refrigerators and ovens by their parents, by the mama's boyfriend, and not a fucking peep from us. And this comes into the thousands of deaths. People read that and they form a conclusion. Do white people kill babies? Yes. Do white people rape, kill, and pedophile? Yes, but the focus is us. If, in fact, I'm going to say what it is. Niggas need God. We need a reformation of the heart, soul, and mind so we love each other enough to correct, hold each other accountable, support each other, and we're willing on the pain of death to resist anyone attacking us. To just get people to be mad at another group of folks isn't enough, because they're black folk walking around every day mad at white folks, and as my dad said, you hate whitey and you kill blackie. My thing is, I'd rather you love whitey and love blackie and ready to check either one. That's my answer to you.
Go ahead, Black Vanguard. Yeah, can y'all hear me? I know sometimes the Twitter app be messed up. Can y'all hear me good? Yeah, I hear you. Now, I'm going to address this situation. I'm going to address a few things. What Dr. Randy Short is saying about the Boule class, that's true, which is the D9s, the Freemasons, the Eastern Stars, the Jack and Jills, the Brotherhood Crusade, the NAACP Urban, they ain't one of the biggest enemies of the black grassroots because for a long time they've been bringing all these terrorists, all these immigrants over here to other minor population, like out here in California. California is a super Democratic majority state, and look how they treat the Foundation of Black Americans state here in California. You have Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, and a lot of people's question is Lynch think he's not a Foundation of Black American. We got Akina Weber, which was trying to give our genealogy bill to the California Department of Justice, so California should have more control of that, which was SB
437. It was a bill, no, it was SB 518. It was a bill when it was with Akita Weber, which is Boulay, she's part of D9 Boulay class. She was trying to give our genealogy records and our information to the California Department of Justice so Gabalusa can have control of it. Then you look at Mia Bonton. She's a Puerto Rican woman in the Bay Area, like in Oakland, Berkeley area. Her husband is Ron Bonton, which is the Attorney General of California. So they was trying to actually to get our genealogy records, basically, so when we start applying for reparations, they can criminalize us and get our information and charge us for getting our genealogy records, basically, so when we start applying for reparations, they can criminalize us and get our information and charge us for getting our reparations. So we fought against that, so they didn't put in the SB 518 bill, they ended up putting it in the California Civil Rights Department instead of the Department of Justice. That was a small victory because we raised hell. We actually was organized to get a lot of these California less than black culture members out the way, which we doing. We still getting Ice Bryan and all these other people out the way because they're very problematic. I've been trying to tell them, these Democrat-related people, y'all too busy fighting for illegal immigration, though, but when we need y'all to fight for issues, especially regarding reparations and other issues we got going on in our community, these same Boulay people know we found, like Karen Bass. I asked Karen Bass about reparations on Juneteenth in Lamar Park, which is one of the last black strongholds we got left in Los Angeles. And I asked her what you feel about reparations. She pleaded on my question, though, but in my park to park, she immediately jumped up and started supporting these illegal immigration. What y'all understand is that a federal judge in the Biden administration put a federal pause on the ice raids in Southern California, and Karen Bass was one of the lead people that was spearheading that movement. These Democratic Boulay politicians like Jasmine Carpus, like Brandon Johnson out of Chicago, they're very problematic though because when it comes to addressing our issues, these people know we found. Like Karen Bass was giving these illegal debit cards in Los Angeles. So these black Democrat politicians, they're a huge problem. But back to the Tether boycott, I'm glad it kind of got me boycotted. Yeah, you might have something cool and riders on an individual level, but majority of them, they highly disrespectful though. And because they have all them types of derogatory stories towards foundation black Americans. That caused cicadas, gerayers, and bees, and all the other 9-yard dozen. And also, Mia Bonton, she's one of the main people that would lead the charge and try to get our genealogy bill to California Department of Justice. Then they got another bill called SB 437. It's a bill going on, we're trying to direct $6 up to $12 million that's supposed to be meant for our genealogy reparations. They try to get $6 to $12 million to the Cal States, the CSUs. So we put a stop to that as well. So if we name all the organizations, the head of NAACP, and shout out to you, Black Alpha Network, was supposed to NAACP because you had the head of the NAACP out of California, Hawaii. We did to his background. He's a whole Panamanian from Panama. He's a whole Afro-Latino. He's not even a foundation of black American. We actually exposed him, so he kind of backed up off of it. Then you got a lot of these so-called minority and people of color groups. They are trying to get on the whole lot of these Latino and Japanese groups. They trying to get a hold of the $6 to $12 million reparations thing that's what meant for our community. So we actually putting pressure on the organization majority support, or we gonna come after them in a professional, in a political way. I'm not talking about the violent way though, but because you gotta redirect that because they real quickly label us as black and Latino and all that kind of stuff, which is another joke that these white folks like, these male people like doing. So yeah, we had a huge fight because I remember 6 years ago, the terrorists were one of the main ones saying that I'm not black, I'm Jamaican, I'm not black, I'm Haitian, I'm not black, I'm Dominican, Jamaica. All of a sudden, we've been delineated for the last 6 years. All of a sudden, they started to say that we're black too. They started claiming African. For y'all understand that is that out there in Tanzania, because I got people out there in Tanzania right now. I know some of the revolutionaries that actually fought in the Tanzanian revolution, though, like Zavara. They actually told me, because I got numbers right now, they actually told me how the Tanzanian government, for y'all understand that, is that a few days ago, the Tanzanian government has officially banned all small foreign businesses in the state of Tanzania. That means they're kicking all foreigners, including the Foundation of Black Americans, out of Tanzania right now to speak. So Pan-Africanism basically is not non-existent. We've been the only ones been carrying the burden of Pan-Africanism for the last 100 years. I'm glad we started. See, it's no but a scam.
Same thing with that Euro return of Ghana. It was nothing but a scam too. We got the Ghanaians are kicking the Nigerians out of Ghana right now. And you got a lot of our foundation Black Americans out there in Ghana. And a lot of people don't understand that. It was a story that happened a few years ago, how you have the Black Panther sister, the well-known activist out of Detroit. I forgot the elder sister's name. How she went out to the Ghana, how she got unalived in Ghana for purchasing land. So it's other kind of stories why people went to these African Caribbean countries that have been getting unalived in these African Caribbean countries. So this Pan-Africanism notion is actually dead. Now, you had this head person of the, I think some kind of African hamburger shop in the DMV area, I think it was in Maryland, actually trying to apologize, but you never seen that African woman actually supporting Black American businesses though. See, we the only ones that have been supporting especially our customer base. Same thing about the Asians. They got to go as well too because they've been, especially the Koreans and the Chinese with the Tulsa Harlem situation. So all these foreigners got to leave our community and stuff like that because we need to circulate money within our community because these foreigners, these other immigrant groups, they don't care none of our own people. Even some of these melanated tether groups don't care none of our people. That's why I'm glad we delineated. I'm gonna pass the mic to somebody else though because I got a lot of stories I can tell you all though.
Appreciate that, brother. All that right there, 110%. Absolutely, brother. Let me say this to the family while we in here. You got Tethergeddon and Donald Trump out here with them Tether tariffs. And if y'all notice, that them damn tariffs got these people real shook. So when you add delineation at the same exact time that you have deportation, that got everybody petrified. It's a new game. It's a new game, and everybody got to understand that, all right? I lost Dr. Short. I'm trying to get him back up. This thing is acting crazy. It's janky as hell.
The Twitter's acting up. And also, what they did was I was putting in the Jumbotron how you had Haitians out there in Florida, I believe in Florida and New York. They formed their own coalition to stop their people from losing their temporary protected status the next month in September. See, they have their own organization that's specific for their own ethnic group. But when we said we want to have our own specific things for our ethnic group, all of a sudden we being xenophobic and
because let me tell you what divisive really just means. Divisive just means, can y'all please stop delineating because it's effing up these tether situations. That's what it is. So you need to get called divisive about 15 times a day. If not, you ain't doing your foundational Black American duty. Because like my brother just said, these people have all types of things that are exclusive and specific to them. But yet they always got a problem when we do things exclusive and specific to us. Well, they going to have a problem then. Trust me, y'all. Tethers are on their way out. As Dr. Randy Short was just putting it, look at all of these different elements. Look at all these different factors that are making Tether sweat right now. And it's a good thing. Because like we said, when you add delineation with deportation, that puts them in a very, very bad scenario. It ain't like it was a year ago. I want everybody to remember, okay? Go back to 2020 all the way to about November last year. They thought that they had it, didn't they? They thought that they ashy-ass fingers was just going to grab on to being a Black American. They really thought that they was going to destiny swap with us. And now the tides have turned. Look at the Tether situation a year ago and look at Tethers now. And I literally mean now. Like, look at them. Look at their faces. They don't seem too confident no more. They ain't got that same smug energy. See, it went from work hard and nigga and all that back talk they was doing. Now they out here saying things like xenophobic, divisive, family. They only use those terms because whatever hustle and scam that they're doing ain't working. You don't call somebody xenophobic unless what you thought you had, you ain't got no more. You don't say somebody's divisive unless you're trying to unite with them so you can steal their resources. And now everybody's saying, these tethers are done. I told y'all, they ain't nothing but a joke and their inner tubes can't flow. It's a bad day. Go ahead, brother.
And Black Alpha, I'm going to say this. I know you got EJ on here. I'm going to say this real quick.
Don't your call, Black
man. I'm going to say this real quick. I remember how you had a lot of these terrorists respecting our lineage and saying like that you had a Jamaican lieutenant governor, Winston Sears out of Virginia, telling them foundational Black Americans to forget about slavery, but telling the Jewish people not to forget about the Holocaust. Same thing you had the City Jackson Lee that CLBC member, another Jamaican immigrant woman out of Houston, Texas, had a whole HR 40 bill on the finesse. And then you had this, I forgot her name, Yvette. Empower and forget about the Foundation of Black Americans in Harlem and New York City. That's actually what disrespect. Same thing got to Brian Donalds. When he was on a Breakfast Club somewhere, how he said he don't believe in reparations because his family won't get it. His family comes from Jamaica. And you had that Nigerian person that was running from the governor of I think it was the governor of Michigan, that saying if you become the governor of Michigan, he gonna get rid of Black History Month. These are the terrorists that come over here that would disrespect our lineage. We would say, for example, we would never go to these African and Caribbean countries and declare war and try to rewrite history. You know what they would do it to us if you go to their countries as a foreigner and declare war and trying to rewrite history and undermine their own country. They'll be real quick to run on somebody. We might not make out their country life if we go to their homelands doing that. So we getting straight and right. We should have been doing this a long time ago, but I'm glad we're doing that right now. Because Dr. Clark Hanson saying that we should have been delayed it a long time ago. So I'm glad we found steps of the great Dr. Clark Anderson. And Dr. John Clark actually said we have no allies. And our people started realizing that all we have is each other, and that's all we need. We've been more qualified since the 1965 Civil Rights Union. And I don't agree with that term African American because the term African American got created by Jesse Jackson in the 1980s. And Jesse Jackson had a part in Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. Because the MLK files have been released, though, that's why they don't want the MLK files to be released because of the truth that they don't want to get let out, though, because. And you already know what Jesse Jackson about the Rama Coalition, what he stands for, but I'm going to allow Brother EJ to speak because I know he can raise his hand for a while.
Yes, indeed. Before my brother EJ go, let me make this clear to the whole family, okay? I got to make this extra clear. We're not trying to convince these people that we ain't African. We telling them. Bottom line, the energy has changed, okay, everybody? It's not about the tethers. It ain't never been about the tethers. It's about FBA because it's our goddamn country. Remember, y'all, they want to be here next to us. We don't give a damn about them. And like my brother Vanguard just said, they would never even allow us to go to any of their homelands and try to...
Okay, guys, hold on. I got to go